Just believe us, we trying to teach you the rights to read you. It's just procedure, baby.
Trials, instruction, procedure. AWS gon' teach ya. Trials, instruction, procedure. AWS gon' teach ya. Yo, here's a tip. Don't get it
Welcome
twisted.
to Attorneys at Swag, the show you come to watch to learn about the law. I'm Eugene Toussaint, your host, and I'm here with my co-host, Jack Gomez.
What up?
And I'm here with my very special guest, Joseph McBride.
How you doing, everyone?
And today we have a very special episode. Today we're talking about representing January 6th defendants. And if you like what you see here, if you've seen our previous episodes, please like, subscribe, share, and make sure you leave a comment and check out our merch shop. So Joseph, please introduce yourself to the audience.
So my name is Joseph McBride. I'm an attorney from Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn in the house.
Brooklyn, no doubt. I represent all kinds of different people. My career started with public defense. That's was the genesis for my criminal defense practice. I do criminal appeals, defamation work, and I represent multiple members of Congress and people in the corporate world as well. I'm a bit of a fixer. So if you're in a position of power and you have a problem at home, be it domestic or whatever it is, people come to me to sort of make their stuff go away. I have a few celebrity clients, probably the most notable are Andrew and Tristan Tate. And, controversially, I represent, not for me in my world, I represent a whole lot of people in Trump world. And I am probably the most known person for January 6th defendants, representing those people, the people who went to the Capitol on January 6th. I've been directly involved with over 20 cases. I've consulted on probably another 50. I represented people before the January 6th committee, and I represent people who have been or who are being subpoenaed by Jack Smith's probe into President Donald Trump.
All right. So, that's the big question. So how did you get into representing January 6th defendants?
Yeah, that's a good question, Eugene. So I got a call one day that a former client of ours and a good friend of my buddy Stephen Metcalf's law firm had been jammed up because he went to the Capitol. His name is Jake Lang. We knew him previously before January 6th. He was there. Steve was on his case. I was thinking about hopping on to Jake's case at the time. Next door to Jake is a guy named Richard Barnett. His name is Big O Barnett. He's the guy who had his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk. He was like, listen, I hear these New York lawyers, you're on the phone with them. They sound like they know what time it is. Do you have another one? So I spoke to Richard. I counted the costs. I knew that taking January 6 cases and living in Brooklyn was not going to be a popular decision. Yeah. But I just straight out didn't care.
All right.
So I said, sure, I'll help you. I took his case on Ash Wednesday of 2021. That was February. Nobody was getting out at that time. These guys were all in lockdown 23 hours a day. And I got him out 2 months later on April 27th. So this was the guy at Nancy Pelosi's desk, feet up on the desk, stun gun in the belt. Everybody's like, how the hell did this guy get out? Number one. Number two, who's his lawyer? And then from there, just a crazy amount of calls just started coming in. And, the rest is sort of history. I got all my clients out from pretrial detention where lots of other people weren't able to do that. Taken many of these cases to trial. Some of them have pled out, so on and so forth. And now I do a lot of civil rights work as well. We have multiple assaults, officer-related assaults or jail condition-related cases where people were abused in solitary, denied medical care. Eugene, you know it. You know it living in New York City as well, right? Coming up with Legal Aid Society, I was taken to school on the evils of solitary and the evils of pretrial confinement, how improper it is. For a long time, this was an issue that strictly or primarily affected the Black and Latino community, members of marginalized communities, right? But now this became an opportunity for the rest of America, largely white Republican America, to look at the criminal justice system and say, hey, wow, this stuff does happening. It's happening to a bunch of white people from middle America. What do we do about it? And lots of people woke up because of the January 6 cases. They had no idea how horrible it has been for so many other people. Members of Congress woke up as well. And it's funny, prison reform right now in Congress is a Republican issue. And you would never think 10 years ago if I would tell you that, but it is. So lots has changed, and that's sort of the genesis of how I arrived where I'm at.
So like what were these guys just getting high bails, or were these judges finding different reasons to keep them confined?
Yeah, how
like
would
what
they
was
keep them-
what was
how
the
would they-
basis?
yeah, how would they
Was
keep
it
them
purely
in?
the charges? Like I guess go more into like
What they were up against.
yeah, what were they up against?
Good question, right? So it's the feds, so cash bail is really not a thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're either remanded or you're out.
Oh, okay.
So the standard, the standard is: are you a flight risk, and are you dangerous to the community or to yourself? Regarding the dangerousness analysis, it has to do with your life history, a little bit about what you've been charged with, but more about who you are as a person. And the standard is there any condition or combination of conditions under which you can, pretrial services can give to you, where you can be a productive member of society on the outside. So think about house arrest, having an ankle monitor on, having to take a pee test, whatever it is. All these common combinations. So the vast majority of the people who went to the Capitol had no prior contact with law enforcement.
Right, I was going to say. I mean, it would make sense if they already had cases, or they already were in the system for some reason. They would be able to use that to be like, nope, we're not letting you out. You're a danger, or you've already been in this situation similar before.
Right.
So
haven't learned your lesson.
Right.
Whatever
All that
it
song
is,
and
or
chance.
you're
But so you're
flight
saying a lot of these people had no history whatsoever.
No history. They objectively were not violent, and they certainly weren't flight risks. Most of them had never left their state, right?
So how would they justify keeping them?
It's good. So what they did was you had the Bail Reform Act of 1984, which is the standard under which people are judged for pretrial detention, whether or not you're remanded or let out in the federal system. From 1984 to January 5th of 2021, there was one set of rules. And then on January 6th and January 7th, they created a whole nother set of rules specifically for these people. So they targeted these people not because they were not because they were violent, not because they were flight risk, but because they hated what they did, they hated who they support, and they uniformly locked them up.
So you're telling me that the moment this happens, right, that day they just sort of changed the way they do things. Yeah. They were able to change that because
I think what he. It's not like they changed the laws, but they changed how they applied them. Or at least they did.
So the process in which they operate, they were able to just change that.
Yeah, because unfortunately, a lot of rules in the criminal justice system comes to the discretion of the prosecutor, comes to the discretion of the judge. Right?
Oh, so it's not just it's not like a checklist that, you know what I'm saying, or like there's like a A, then to B, then to C.
No, there was a checklist.
Right.
They didn't use it. So
they created their own just to punish these people.
They just said, we're going to put the checklist aside, and we're going to treat this special. We're going to call this an attack on democracy. We're going to say nothing like this has ever happened before. And because of this, we're going to sub-constitutionalize these people, subhumanize them by calling them the white version of the N-word, which is insurrectionist, right? And then we can treat you like an enemy combatant and hold you as if you were in Guantanamo Bay. And uniformly, every judge but one judge on the D.C. bench got down with it. And it's a travesty of justice.
And were they able to
and manipulation of it as well?
Because I feel like when I look at the January 6th event, I feel like they want to make you feel like it was like this well thought out plan to take over democracy, but like it really wasn't.
No,
right?
I mean, I saw the videos.
Like
we interviewed a photographer that was there.
Yeah,
and when he was talking about it, he was like, "This was not organized. Like nobody knew who anybody was because." It was also during during COVID or after COVID, and so everyone was still masked up and things like that. And
like have you ever seen *Handmaid's Tale*?
Not like I've seen.
You ever heard of the show?
Yes, of course.
So like they take over the government,
right?
But they like killed the right people.
Right. Yeah.
They like took this building.
They had people already.
They were very organized. You gotta like.
It's like
topple a government. You're not just gonna break into a building.
What are the bad guys in Marvel? Hail Hydra.
Yeah.
Some Hydra shit.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what you would have to do to actually take over the government.
Right.
So it's like
a government like America's. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like extreme trespassing is not the same as not to say that I'm not undermining January 6th, but it's not the same as trying to take over the government. So like, were they? I guess back to my question. Like, were they able to? In their attempt to prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law, were they able to uncover like a organized plot to hang this all on?
The only organized plot that was uncovered was the intentional policing failure at the Capitol. You have to ask yourself who gains and who loses by what took place at the Capitol. The biggest loser was Donald Trump, and then everybody and the Trump supporters who went there to support him. Now Donald Trump asked for the National Guard in advance to go and to police the Capitol that day. His offer for the National Guard was declined by Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., and by Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi has jurisdiction and the ability to do this as Speaker of the House. She's over the Capitol Police, and a woman named Yolanda Pittman. This was the three sort of trifecta of people who told Donald Trump to stick it where the sun don't shine when it comes to the Capitol Police. Not only that, conveniently on that day, the Capitol Police were half-staffed. Why would you be half-staffed on a day when you knew everybody and their mama was coming to protest?
Yeah, and that's
unless you wanted it to happen.
Right. When I first saw it, I felt that exact same way because I'm like, yo, this is one of the most protected buildings in the whole world.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I remember going to a concert and out there, right? And my bus was late, so we hung out in the park. And I'm sitting on the bench, just on my phone because, you know, the concert ended really early and I had another 3 hours before my bus was coming. And I'm the only person there. And the cops came out of nowhere and was like, oh, what are you doing here? This park is closed, da, 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 da. And I was like, whoa. Yeah. I didn't see anybody as far as my eyes could see. And I'm just sitting here just looking at the park or whatever, and they came up right behind me. So I was like, whoa, this place is protected. And that was years before. They whatever. They came off the ground and the ground opened up and they was like, hey, where are you going? So when I saw that happen, I was like, nah, this is a little shifty. And me, I'm not well versed in law, the way police act or operate, or how government operates in a sophisticated way. But I was like, come on, man. Like, you allow these people to get in here, like on any other day, or I do have to say, if it was a group of black people or just mainly black people, that would have got shut down. There would have been fences up the day before. Now we kind of see when they know protests are happening or these things. Now all of a sudden the fences are going up around the White House. I don't know. There was still something recently that happened that they were putting fences up around the White House or something.
They're anticipating a Supreme Court decision.
Right. And so now they're proactive. But before they were also proactive. So to me, that was always a red flag to me.
So you get these cases. Like I know in state, in criminal, we do something like we submit a PPM to the judge to kind of reassess why bail was set and like try to lower the bail. Is that something that, like, what was the process to get them to, they set remand, right? Because like you said, it's the federals. Sure. So what, you have to submit paperwork or like make an argument?
You appeal it. So what happened is, in most of these cases, especially in the beginning, you have people who were turning themselves in. Oh shit, that's me on TV. I got to turn myself in before I get my door blown off by the FBI. And then the FBI and the Joint Terrorism Task Force all across the country started kicking in people's doors, showing it. I had clients where you see on the Ring camera, they come up on the front lawn with a tank and they point the turret at the crib and they cut the lights and they go in and they gas everybody. It's like Bin Laden, right? So they're like, everybody's like, I'm just going to turn myself in. So the vast majority of people who turned themselves in or got arrested, they went before their local magistrate. And the local magistrate went, okay, you're not a flight risk and you're not dangerous. Here's an ankle monitor. See you in 2 months, right? What DC did was say, oh, no, hold your horses, stop the presses. They filed an appeal. The DOJ filed an appeal, had the people taken from there, said DC claimed jurisdiction, taken to the district court in DC, out of the magistrate's hands. It goes before a district court judge, which is a little bit of a higher level judge, and the DC judges locked them all up. Everybody got locked up.
And they were across the state line. They were across the state lines doing this. Or this was just the people who happen to still be in DC.
Say you live in Arkansas, right?
Right, but I've traveled to DC, did the January 6th, and then went back home.
Turned yourself into Arkansas, went for an Arkansas judge.
Okay.
He says go home. DC said what? He sent them home? No, boom, bring them back. Oh. So then everybody started going to DC. Wow. They locked everybody up.
In DC, and then, not in their respective state.
DC jail.
And this is, so so you said you represented like 20 people? The charges range, right? Because you had people barely doing anything. Then you have some people clashing with cops. So this occurred regardless of the charges?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
so
crazy.
If they knew you were there and they had you,
they would remand you.
They would just like you pull up.
That's crazy.
So it went from people who were violent, then from people who were peaceful, who were in the building, then for people who showed up onto the Capitol grounds. And they're still arresting people today. We get calls every day. I just had a consult on the way here for a guy who wants to retain because, he's like, I didn't do what they're saying I did, so on and so forth. What they did is they improperly weaponized this charge called 18 USC, United States Code 1512. It's a obstruction charge that comes from the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. It has to do with Enron. When Enron was being investigated, Enron famously collapsed about 20 years ago. When it was being investigated, they knew the DOJ was coming. So everybody was like, yo, shred everything, right? There was no law on the books that really could attack them. So after that happened, they shredded these documents in anticipation of litigation. They put this charge in the books. They said, if you tamper with evidence for the specific purpose of jamming up a judicial proceeding, we're going to charge you with it. Because we can't get you for what you did, but we get you for obstruction. Right. So they expanded the scope of that charge to say that anybody who showed up on the Capitol that day, if you had the intent to obstruct the count or the certification, you're on the hook for obstruction. Wow. We were saying from Jump Street, this shit is wrong. What you guys are doing is wrong. It's unconstitutional. And what are they saying? F you, appeal it.
And this is what happens also in regular criminal justice system. Take the ride, because you get the wrong judge, you get a gun case. You just say you have a really good suppressible case, right? So that means, look, the guy had the gun, or the cops found a gun on him allegedly, but the way they went about it, it's gonna get suppressed because they just pull up on him, stop and frisk, you driving while black, whatever it is, right? So it's gonna get suppressed. But you have some judges who are like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I know he had the gun, or I believe he had the gun, and regardless of whether he should be suppressed, I'm not going to suppress it. Even if what I'm doing is clearly appealable, so that this guy takes the ride, he goes upstate for 2 years, 3 years, it gets appealed, his conviction gets overturned, but at least give him the ride.
Yeah, you asked out at that time. So the process is the punishment.
Exactly.
The process is the punishment. So what happened? We fought this. We everybody got behind each other, and we all uniformly, really went after this charge. I engaged on a public, campaign on the media and on TV and all these shows. Other people engaged in the Supreme Court, and just today, the 1512 charge got shot down by the Supreme Court. So mad people. Some people already did their bit. 4 years, they're done already, right? They didn't have to do it.
That's crazy. So, but now, are they able to sue, or?
It's an interesting question. I think they would have grounds to sue.
I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I would still
it's a wrongful conviction if you ask me. And so they limited the scope of the application to say if you touch the documents, then you're on the hook for this charge, because that's what the legislators intended, right? Guess how many of these people touch documents? Not one. Not one.
I mean, well, if you put your feet up on a desk and there were documents on the desk and your foot was on the
Even
paper,
then, the intent would have to be those documents. You would have to have displayed the intent somehow to want to grab those documents for the specific purpose of obstructing the certification of the vote. Right. And so if you just kick documents off because you're being a schmuck, right? You're trespassing, you're loitering, you're breaking and entering. That's one thing, but you're not doing what they accuse you of. And the reason why they use this charge, because guess what? It's 20 years out of the gate. So you've never had no contact with the criminal justice system. You showed up, you're 65 years old, you're with your wife, she's 65 years old, you take a walk in the Capitol. They're like, yo, 20 years or take this plea deal for 4 years. People just sign their lives away.
That's interesting, right? Because they're taking 4 years on what, a different charge or a lesser charge of that same statute?
Oh no, on that. So what they would do is that, like, you can get 20 years statutorily, but then they would say, okay, the guidelines, everything operates on the guidelines. You have no criminal history, right? But because this gives you X amount of points, the guidelines say you have to do a minimum of 14 months. Then they tack on a bunch of enhancements. Oh, you showed up wearing a camouflage. That means that you had a tactical concern. You demonstrated a tactical intent to infiltrate and hurt somebody. Or you showed up wearing a body armor. No, somebody says, look, I wore body armor because Antifa's been knocking out Trump supporters all over the country. I wanted to come to fight Antifa that day, and because I wanted to give Antifa some smoke, right? And, that's why I showed up. I wanted to engage with Antifa. I was hoping for a fist fight with Antifa. I didn't want to punch Nancy Pelosi in the face. They don't care. Judges said that to me. Antifa don't exist, right? And it's crazy. And so when you juxtapose this stuff, what happened with the January 6th didn't happen in the vacuum, right? It was at the end of what happened with Eric Garner, right? George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. We saw what happened in America. When you leave your house with the intent of going to protest for a political purpose, and if you fracture an occasional law or two, judges are usually merciful to you because they understand your original intent was grounded in the Constitution. Right? You went out there and you went wild and you fucked some shit up, but at the end of the day, your original intent was, I don't like police brutality. That's straight up murdering black people, right? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do something about it. Fuck it, I broke a few windows. Judges are usually like, yo, you shouldn't have broke a window, but here's a ticket, come back next week. So most people went to the Capitol with the understanding if they broke a window or two, they were going to get a ticket. They never thought in a million years they'd be facing 20 years.
So now, I feel like we're almost starting at the end because, like you said, this happened just today. Was that really the crutch of most of your cases? That statute?
Oh, it was on every one of my cases for the first couple of years until these charges started making their way up through the DC. Like, they never thought that we were going to sit there and just like burn the ships and say, yo, we are here. We are going to fucking fight you every inch. We're going to fight you around every turn, over every hill, at every corner, no matter what the cost. They never thought that a bunch of middle American people, some of them, you know, with no money at all, that we were all going to crowdfund and get people in on this and raise all this money to come up with a war chest to fight the DOJ. So we fought them tooth and nail, and as these charges began to make their way up to the Supreme Court, they began to tack on other charges. I had a case a week before trial, they superseded us, and I was like, Judge, we need an extension here. Judge was like, no, you're just going to deal with it, you know, and we had to I mean, it's been materially dishonest. The whole prosecution of these people has been in bad faith, and the reason why they did it is not because of what they did. It's because of what they believe in and who they support. This is the first time in the history of this great country that the ruling party in power has went after the opposition party for political dissidents. To put people in jail because of the candidate they support. Love Donald Trump, hate Donald Trump. The risk is this. If Donald Trump gets in office, or whoever gets in office 5 years down the road, and they remember what happened, right? What do you think they're going to do? They're going to do the same thing to the other party. Right. So then it'll be Republicans going after Democrats, right? And then we fall into this system of political tribalism. If that happens...
Well, judicial tribalism, which is
It's a wrap.
That's dangerous.
It's a wrap.
That's scary.
Because
judicial tribalism, you're right.
Yeah, because that's where it could get scary.
You're weaponizing a system that's supposed to be unbiased.
Well, I mean, look, the system is not unbiased. And
Interestingly enough, right?
What we're describing right now is happening to poor people left and right every day of the week. One of the things I always say, in being a public defender for 10 years now, or almost 10 years, is that I'm happy that there actually isn't like a coordinated, like a lot of these, like NYPD hates the correction officers and the correction officers hate the court officers because there really isn't like, they're not coordinated. Like, everyone is so fractured and tribal, and they're little, like, NYPD does what they do, the prosecutors do what they do, that it's very hard for them to do what he's describing, where it's like you have prosecutors and judges at every level where it's like they can coordinate the pressure, because if they did, people would just get fucked left and right. It's like people are getting fucked all over, but it's like disorganized fucking. And so it's not as bad. It's more like, it's injustice, not to say it isn't. But when you can do it coordinated, then it becomes oppressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does make sense. And it's coordinated. It's very, very coordinated. They have vertically integrated the justice system with the Department of Justice, the sharing of information, multitude of Brady violations. I mean, you name it. They've done everything and anything they can do to stack the deck in their favor. But at the end of the day, white, black, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Communist, at the end of the day, people who love freedom, right, don't like injustice. And even when it's happening to your enemies, your political enemies, people who see the world differently than you do, at some point you're like, yo, enough is enough, because at some point
it could be
come
you
to my door.
Yeah, right? It could be you.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's where we're at right now.
Yes. So, and I agree. And that's why I wanted to have you as a guest. Because like, look, you can have your opinions about the politics of it, but I don't like watching anyone get fucking the book thrown at them. Everyone should get as much leniency as society can offer, because that makes a better society. You give someone an opportunity, they stop doing it, and then boom, you have a normal member of society again. But to get more on the technical side, because you know, I like to have guests kind of explain things that they're never going to hear outside of our conversation potentially. So like, boom, you get these clients. If they're incarcerated, your first goal is to get them out. What is like the normal process of a federal case of this nature? Like, what are they charged with, and kind of what is the steps? Like, what are the like?
So you're charged, right? Most of these cases, they indict you. You don't even know about it. There's an arrest warrant. You get arrested and you get indicted right away, or you've already been indicted, right? You got to go before a judge and you got to have a hearing to figure out whether or not you're going to be detained pre-trial or not. In the feds, you're normally the standard is you're not detained unless you're like El Chapo or Bin Laden or whatever. Like think about like John Gotti or whoever. Like all these guys were out fighting their cases, right? So and they were charged with murder and racketeering and organized crime. So the standard is generally you're out. If you can get somebody out, great. If you can't, then they're in pre-trial. And then it's like once you're in pre-trial, I don't have to tell you, if you're already in, you just want to get out. And if you got to take a plea to get out, that's what they do. So they want to hold people in, and they want to force a plea. You're facing 20 years. You've already done a year. Take a plea, take a felony for 3 years, and you're out. Some people took those deals, but the majority of people, think about the people who went to the Capitol. They went there because they disagreed with the election result. They thought the election was improperly decided. They were there for political reasons. Moreover, they have no criminal records, right? Moreover, they're very, very patriotic. So they're very like, fuck the system type people. So the vast majority of these people said, no, stick it up your whatever. We're not taking a deal. And the DOJ didn't know what to do with that. And all of a sudden, all these trials started stacking up. And they started hiring and pulling from all the other places. Nothing like this has ever happened with the DOJ. It's the largest investigation in the history of the Department of Justice.
It's 1,200 arrests, they said?
More than that. It's probably approaching 2,000.
Oh,
and
wow.
budgetary-wise, it blows any other investigation and prosecution out. Think about that. Bin Laden, JFK, whatever it is, all the five families,
El Chapo.
El Chapo, all that stuff. This smokes it by 100 miles, right? So once you go in and you're in pre-trial, you have to make a calculated decision as to whether or not you can fight this case. So we're getting ready to make these decisions, and in every one of these cases, they make us sign a protective order, and it says that we're going to give you access to your information, to your discovery. But we're going to give it to you in 2 tiers, right? 3 tiers. Non-protected, which is nothing, like one document with your name on it. You have protected and like heavily protected information. And you're not allowed to disseminate that with the public. And the stuff it's called highly sensitive information, all the shit that's real critical, like what's happening in the Capitol, where your guy's at, who punched the cop in the face, whatever it is, they call that highly sensitive information. You can't even view, as a defendant, you can't view it without me. And if you're in Arkansas, if you're in jail, how the hell can you view your discovery? Lots of these guys went near 1-2 years, never even seen their discovery, right? They did that to force these guys to plead. You know it's illegally. On top of that, check this out.
Wow.
The January 6th committee obtains the information independently. They got it from the DOJ, right? And then they hold this production where they spend millions of dollars to proffer a one-sided narrative to the American public about what happened that day. And they take all the highly sensitive information and they publish it to the world in a way that's most incriminating. And we can't do anything about it, right? Because they handicapped us from going out there and doing it publicly. So I had to work with people, raise money, figure out how to obtain this footage outside of the scope of how it was given to me, and then launch a counter campaign on TV. I went on all the big shows, and we had to launch a counter information war. So this is not a normal case, right? These are not normal cases. This is information war in the public consciousness versus what's in conjunction with what's going on in court. And it made it very complicated. Every time I went on TV to do something, they would beat these guys in jail, throw them in the hail, mace them, kick the shit out of them, starve them, give them the wrong medication, move them across the country, whatever it is, just to make the situation difficult. But lots of these people, because they didn't do anything wrong, they refused to give up.
I've never heard about 90% of this shit. So
Right.
they have. So
but it makes sense. I'm not surprised.
We're talking about discovery. They recently passed. So you stopped being a public defender in New York before discovery reform in 2020.
Yeah.
It's been nice. It's been really good.
I bet.
It's been really good.
It was horrible.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
So I take a lot of good pleas, like a lot of discons. So a lot of my cases didn't go to trial because a lot of discon is nice. Violation, you don't want to go to trial. But they were able, right, before 2020, to give you a stack of discovery on the eve of trial. Like they legally they were required to give it to you the day or the day before trial. So that means you had to go through it. You had to like your whole entire thought process on the case might change based on discovery. They changed that now to where you get the discovery. Now they have like the speedy trial clock doesn't stop unless they give it to you. Right. So which is fantastic. So like it's way better. But what you're saying is on the federal side. So one, how quickly do they have to give it to you, and how do they determine the tiers that you're describing? Like, is there like a statute? It's
the administrative state. They made the decisions on their own, and the judges just went with it. For the first year, they were like, oh, due to the volume of discovery, we need time. So they delayed all the cases in the administration of justice because the discovery wasn't available. They said, Judge, my guy's 65 years old with diabetes. This guy's 25 years old with celiac disease. They can't feed him celiac safe food. This guy's got 5 kids at home and he's foreclosing on his house. If they're saying right now that it's going to be at least a year before they can get the discovery, let my guys out, right? Uniformly denied. I had to get them out in other ways. I had to prove to them in certain cases that discovery was never made available. Violations happened in jail, whatever it is. I eventually got my guys out. One guy took 2.5 years to get out pre-trial, right? And then in the second year, they say, okay, now we have these systems. You need to apply for a license to use the system to review the discovery. And you have to agree to not make sure that you don't show this to the defendant, to your client, outside of your supervision. So they set all these obstacles for you to view the material and then be able to share the material, right? And to be able to disseminate meaningfully. If you have a co-defense agreement with other defendants, they make it very hard. They did everything to draw the length of this process out, to force people to give up and plead, because they knew that the vast majority of these people were actually innocent. But you can't prove your innocence without access. Right. So people did not have meaningful access to their discovery on the outside until 2 years later. If you were on the inside, you've never had meaningful access.
Damn. This shit sounds terrible.
Yeah. Like some totalitarian regime.
It is. The way that you were trained, it is. You're 100% right. The way that you were trained, right? Legal Aid Society gives very, very good training, right? It prepared us well on these constitutional issues, discovery, how to be a meaningful defense attorney and just go at it in your own style, right? But the core fundamentals that you know as an attorney, if you went into these cases, you would lose your mind, right? And I was the only guy losing my mind for the first year in court. Like they wanted to throw me out. They tried to disbar me. They tried to silence me. I was just like, fuck this. What you're doing is wrong. I am not going to let history go by me and be the fucking one guy that didn't say that this is fucking wrong. I'm going to say something. I'm going to fight you all now. And then eventually another person did it and another person did it till you had 100 people saying, fuck the system over there, right? But in the beginning, everybody was scared shit. It's the federal government. It's the FBI. Nobody wanted to stand up.
So what, let's say, for example, a case that they're not politically motivated or whatever their motivation is, right? Like give them benefit of the doubt. Let's say, for example, it's not going to take that long to get to discovery. What is the normal timeline in terms of speedy trial on a federal case? Like how quickly are they supposed to give it to you normally?
You got to get it. You get it usually early on. In the federal system, they put things on USAFX. You have an account. You click on. You view your discovery right there. They can give you some stuff on the eve of trial a week or two out, but the vast majority of your stuff. The stuff is disseminated to you early, because the general rule is if the feds are taking a case, if the feds are coming for you and you're just a guy on the block, they've got a case on you, like you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? There are some times that you can wiggle your way out of it, but 99% of all the cases in the feds,
ladies and gentlemen, we got them.
Right. So you would think that if they had that evidence, they'd want to continue that model. They went the other way because they didn't have shit. And they actually had to create laws and bend and smooth and shape and expand laws to get people. But here's the thing.
That's scary though, right? That they like to do that.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. I would say it's disgusting.
I mean, they got people whose minds work well to be like, okay, we can manipulate. They look at the game and they're like, oh, we can change this rule. We can manipulate this.
I tell my clients all the time, especially like it's weird because in felony land, it's almost like a little, to the person experiencing it, because they know what they've been charged with a little bit more seriously, they're kind of more ready for the ride. A misdemeanor guy who really knows they should have never been arrested in the first place, but their ride is, and my ride, I mean like the case.
Right.
It's going to be if it converts or like if they're able to continue it because they do all the little pieces, it can be anywhere from 6 months, a year. And I tell my clients like, yo, look, this case is gonna go away, but this is the ride, baby. Right. Like this is the ride. Like I'm gonna throw this motion, I'm gonna do this, but the ride is a long ride.
Right.
Typically, I've never seen a ADA weaponize the ride, right? Like purposely drag on a criminal case to fuck my client.
And if they were to, isn't there a protocol or something that you can do or something you can file to be like, yo, you're purposefully making this more difficult than it needs to be?
Generally, but the judges went along with it. The judges said, we're going to,
that was the missing piece.
Yeah, the judges went along with it. And that's because, look, DC is not like the rest of the world. And it's not like New York, right? It's just... Yeah, man. It's a special place. And look, 100%, I don't know how many cases have gone to trial, 200-300, not one exoneration.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not really. Okay.
Not one exoneration?
Oh, no, because if they let one exonerate, isn't that technically you open the floodgates? Goes, oh, you let him rock, now you got to let this, you got to let that, right?
That's right. So you think about it. These people went there in support of Trump, right? DC's 97% Biden voter, number one. And they're not average Biden voter. It's Biden voter who works for the federal government because you live in DC. Otherwise, why are you there? Right? So this is your employer. Not you feel so strongly about him that you'll work for him. Right? And you're more militaristic in your approach to politics. You're not just somebody else who lives in Brooklyn or whatever it is. You got to contend with that. So in every case, we filed a change of venue motion. We said, hey, listen, these guys are from Texas, Arkansas, whatever. They should have change of venue motion. And then when the January 6th committee did its thing, I started citing the Oliver North case from the 1980s. And he had his conviction overturned because the judge said that the DC jury pool was cloaked in his congressional testimony. So I'm like, look, if Oliver North's testimony on C-SPAN in 1990, if Liz Cheney is tweeting out something that's got 10 million views and everybody else there's billions of views happening with stuff, you're going to tell me DC hasn't been tainted? 100%.
Yeah.
We filed for all these change of venue motions. Not one was granted.
Right.
Not one. They were like, no, you're coming here. Because your trial, if you're a white guy from Alabama or Arkansas or Texas who showed up here to do this on this day, this is the equivalent of being a black guy in 1940, Oklahoma, going to trial by a jury of your peers. Your ass is getting convicted, you're getting hung, and you're getting strung up in the square by 12 noon, not because of who you are, but because of the color of your skin, because you had the audacity to speak to a white woman or whatever the hell you allegedly did wrong, and because these people hate you. And that is what's going on there. Make no mistake about it.
And has like... all this eventually after conviction can get appealed. Has higher courts decided that issue, like the
venue issue?
To me, I kind of If it's on fucking news day in and day out.
Yeah.
And like I know I was talking to Duck, I'm a public defender, but it's like I'm trying to remember a jury what they could have heard of it. Like how much is too much if a jury knows about the case? I'm trying to remember.
But DC is this small.
No, I know.
But what I'm saying
in general, I mean.
But imagine if the 9/11 hijackers all lived, right? And then they're selecting a jury pool, and you live 2 blocks from the World Trade Center. Should you be on that jury?
No.
Hell no. Everybody who lives in D.C. that was in proximity, like these people, came in, filled up the whole of D.C. Nobody likes it if you live there. All these people are on the jury. They're all victims, and we're arguing these people are victims. They can't be on this jury.
But then,
they can't be impartial.
But then hold on. How is technically, like, I'm not obviously not well versed in the law, but how is that really a jury of your peers if you committed the crime in D.C., but you live in
Texas,
Arkansas, right? Your peers are in Arkansas.
There you go.
Right? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if I commit but then again, no, because let's say I live in the Bronx, but I commit a crime in Brooklyn. When I go to whoever's doing jury duty in Brooklyn, they would be doing those Brooklyn cases.
If you go to Brooklyn and commit an act of domestic terrorism, and it affects you let a chemical loose, it affects all of Brooklyn,
all of New York City.
They'll all be tainted.
Right? Really tainted.
Yeah.
How could he possibly be on the jury?
Yeah.
It ain't right.
I'm good.
I'm
unbiased.
I mean, he just
my mama died yesterday.
He
but
just
what
killed
he did,
my grandma, but she not feel good at heritage, so I'm not tainted.
Like,
Yeah.
imagine if there are lawsuits now about. I don't know where you stream, what platforms you stream on, so I don't want to get too into it. But there are lawsuits now about a certain shot that people had to get over the past couple of years because of the pandemic. I took it, right? I got an injury because of it, right? I did.
I had to take it because my wife wanted to go to Europe.
See?
That bitch.
I had to take it. I had to take it, otherwise I was going to lose my job.
Yeah, but we all had our reasons,
Right.
right? I took it because my daughter was going to be born at the time, and they weren't going to let me in the hospital.
Right, yeah.
I'm like, well, if I got to take one for the team, I'll be there because you ain't doing it to her, right? And it wound up making me sick. I eventually got over it, but it took me 3 years to get better, right? Should I be on one of those juries?
No.
Hell no.
No,
Oh yeah,
no.
I'll be fair and impartial.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna fucking ring you up.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what the DC jury pool is.
Yeah. I don't want to lie, man.
But then aren't you able to appeal or say, oh, this like, you know, as a lawyer, you'll be like, oh, this I can't trust this jury. We gotta do this again, right?
Yeah.
You're able to do that.
But here's the thing. But because of how expensive these cases are, you're going against the DOJ, biggest prosecution in its history, right? Each one of these cases, it costs very easily $250,000, $300,000 to litigate
For one person.
For one person through trial, through completion. So you had to raise all this money. This guy lives in a trailer in Tennessee.
He don't got no
$250,000. But I crowd raise it, right?
Right.
And then it moves on to the next guy, right? And he got no more money. How's he going to appeal?
Right.
Right. Then they got to go to somebody else. It doesn't work out. They don't. And people just give up.
Right.
They're just like, how much time I got left? All right, I'm just going to start counting the days until I can get out of here. Oh, by the way, if you're appealing, they'll jack you up in jail as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like an organized crime situation over there where they have people everywhere. I mean, this is the United States government. Like, you know, there are no winners here.
Right, exactly.
So you just have
Welcome to the list, Jack.
Hey man, what am I gonna do?
Fine.
What am I gonna do? I ain't nobody.
How much worse can it be? I live in the Bronx.
Right, exactly.
Fuck. Oh, goddamn, man. All right. Well.
So how do you see this changing, right? Or is there something to learn from this experience, right? That if something like this were to happen again, you are now well more prepared as a defender.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you learn skills? Like there's like a skill.
Of course,
Yeah.
I've learned skills, but I think the lesson is really more for the general public, right? Because when you're a battle-tested attorney, you have you know how corrupt the system is, right? The vast majority of people don't believe. What really bothers me the most, right? And I don't want to offend nobody here, and I know that this is not you guys, right? But I was raised legally through law school, college, and in the beginning of my legal career by some real like lefty people. Look, I'm a MAGA Republican. I'm a Trump supporter, but I voted for Obama, right? So I'm one of these guys that just was like, I walked away. That's what we call it, right? So, but these like it was mainly like agnostic or atheistic Jews and like Latinos that lean sort of communist who raised me in how to be a fierce advocate, how to look at the government with skepticism, be like, fuck the government, never trust it because look at what it does, right? And I had some, like for instance, one of my mentors, I won't name him, but he was like I'm a Jewish guy and these 9/11 hijackers and terrorists, they hate me. They would cut my head off if they could. But I'm going to go down to Guantanamo Bay and I'm going to defend them, even though they hate me, because this is who I am. This is what the Constitution, like I saw that shit. I was like, yo, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
So when January 6th happened, all these people ghosted us.
Yeah.
They all ghosted us because these people were Trump supporters. Not fucking one person showed up and said, hey, I'm going to do what I did at 9/11, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Because these people supported Trump, they've left them all out to hang. I was the only guy there from the New York City movement where all these people trained me who signed up to go to battle for these people. No matter, it doesn't matter.
For terrorists that actually took lives.
Yeah, but I mean, no, for the people who went to the Capitol.
Right. No, I'm saying that they showed up for the terrorists who
went to
took lives.
Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, but then when it comes to this,
they were like, no, you support Trump? Fuck it, you can rot.
that's wild.
That is wild. That is wild.
Come on, bro. That don't even make.
Bro, on Tinder they wouldn't even fuck them. I don't fuck you. If you voted for Trump, I won't fuck you.
One of the first questions, so that injury I told you about, right? I had to get surgery for it. I had to get a tumor taken out. And I woke up on
Had to get a what?
I had to get a tumor taken out of my back.
Oh, fuck.
And
Really?
Yeah, I did. And then this beautiful nurse took care of me. And at the end of it, we wound up falling in love, and she's sitting right over there.
Shout out.
That's how we met. But after that, one of the first questions I was like, "Who you supporting president?" She's like, "I'm with you." I was like, "Oh, we good. We golden." So how you want to go here if you're not with me?
You know?
Yeah.
Because if not, at home it would have been real hostile, man. You would have forgot to buy milk, and you'd be like, you know what? But you a Trump supporter. That's why you forgot to buy milk.
This is too good to be true, so I got to ask you this now. It's real serious.
Right. I won't lie, like, I remember, like, right after Trump got elected, it was like, don't fuck Trump voters. And I was like,
you're like, damn.
What? Maybe they ain't good guys. I'm like 50% of the population, bitch. How good are you?
And then during COVID, it was just like, oh, don't fuck the vaccinated, don't fuck the unvaccinated.
It's crazy.
You got motherfuckers going out with shirts that say vaccinated and ready to fuck. Like, that's wild. Like
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely saw it on the Instagram post, and I liked it because that was hilarious. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
now in my world, I see like on Twitter people like, yo, I have
they
unvaccinated
see
sperm.
it. Yeah.
So I'm good.
They charge you 5 times for that, yo. Like, I got liquid gold, baby.
Oh,
right,
shit.
Olympian shit.
Fuck, man. God,
Man, the world is crazy.
Yeah,
you know,
intense.
when you put them people through a crazy psychological, stressful environment, you see wild shit happen. Like, you just be like, wow, I didn't think, you know, like it was recently I saw somebody post something that said, oh, like you really think during the Nazi regime that you wouldn't be pointing out the Jews. But look at how y'all acted during COVID, right? Yeah. Look at how y'all acted when you found Trump supporters, right? You were just like, oh, he's this, or they're that, or they're not unvaccinated, or they're not covering their face. You know, motherfuckers, for $100, that's what I said to my wife. She don't like what I said, but I was like, yo, bro, if anybody would have been like, you want to get rid of illegal immigrants, $1,000 for everyone you find, there's gonna be people going around being like with a rope, like I got one, I got 2. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna say he's gonna do that, because if he does, then that's fucked up, of course. Because I got cousins like, yo, chill.
Be empty.
I got cousins who would be like, yo, bro, remember that $20 you owe me, bro? I can make a G right now, bro. Don't play with me.
They used to do that. You used to get I don't know, a shilling or whatever back. $1 for a scalp.
Yep.
So they used to fucking murder Native Americans.
And then you go back down to slavery, right? And like how they was even the house slaves was snitching, like you've seen Django, right? So it's like to me, that was like kind of like this whole, like what I was able to take a seat back and look at it and be like, yo, bro, y'all just quick to snitch on each other because you picked a side.
Right.
And then we all missing the real thing that's happening. And that you have people, whether it's this small group or it's just people with certain collective groups with interests, that are manipulating this system that was supposed to be unbiased, that's supposed to be just, that's supposed to be clear cut. The A goes to B, goes to C, right? Now, if you just told us this entire show, they manipulated that. Yeah. And they were able to do that so quickly and so efficiently that for you to combat it, once you combated it, another wall came up.
It's crazy. You know who I got?
How do you trust a system like that, right? Or how do you
I mean, criminal justice system, you don't trust.
You don't trust.
No, I'm saying but like, as someone who's not in the trenches, you want to, like, if there's a serial killer out there and they got him, you're gonna be like, okay, I could feel some sort of like calmness because the system is gonna take care of him.
Yeah.
They found the bodies. They got the tapes, whatever it is. But it's like, no.
It's wild. You know what they did? You guys are, on Sunday, I'm going to be 46, right? So you guys are a little younger than me. But I remember when 9/11 happened. And after that, they went on this campaign. If you see something, say something. Right. So I remember, like 2004, I would get on a plane and I would see a dude, like, if he look objectively look like a Muslim guy, or God forbid he was wearing all white, had a beard, I'd be like, oh shit. Right. Like, what the fuck? Do I get off this plane? Do I do this? Yo, how did I get them to psyop me that way? Right. Where this guy here, who prays 5 times a day, doesn't drink, doesn't
eat
drug,
pork,
loves God,
Like,
doesn't eat pork, pays his taxes, busts his ass all the time.
Right.
I'm viewing him as a suspect
Right.
because of what some asshole in City Hall taught me, right? So I had to unprogram myself and realize that this was wrong. And when I realized that they were taking the 9/11 model and applying it to MAGA Republicans, they went from the international terrorist model to the domestic terrorist model, right? The first community I went to was the Muslim community. And I said, nobody else other than the defense attorneys here and the people who are immediately affected, no other group of people outside of the Republican Party will help us, will stand with us. Will you help? And guess what they did? They were all like, hell yeah, we'll help. And that's when the first real group of people who came to give me support in my public advocacy for January 6th was uniformly Muslims here and all over the world. They were like, yo, we see this, we know this shit, and it's wrong. It's wrong, 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 wrong. Yesterday was our group, today it's your group, tomorrow it'll be you over there, right?
Right.
But still, people don't care, man. Unless it's happening to you or you, nobody cares.
Yeah, man.
I mean, look, man, this conversation, I'm loving it. I feel like the things we're talking about, you rarely hear it outside. Like you rarely hear it. You rarely understand it. Like people talk about it. People say this, but it's like the things just like I'm a public defender. I don't like injustice. I see my clients get fucked every day. And at the end of the day, I can be a Democrat. I can be whatever, and I can sit there and go, January 6th was a little untasteful for me. but
outside looking in,
but they're still getting hemmed up to a degree that's a little crazy.
Yeah.
Or at least so going back to the cases, I guess so you have, what are the spectrum of the charges, and I guess tell me more about the charges, which ones were some, were there some people at the back of the entering the building that didn't actually maybe interact with cops or didn't how did they judge the cases? Was there at least some discretion in the severity, or was people nails and everyone were they hammers? What the fuck it is? Everyone a nail and they're a hammer.
It's a good question. There's the people who were in the back are still being arrested today, and I can explain it after the initial explanation. But you have hundreds of men, white men, some Latinos, some blacks as well. It wasn't all white guys, right? A lot of Puerto Ricans. I'm Puerto Rican. A lot of Puerto Ricans got jammed up that day too, right? So how did all these people? If you're John the mailman, Joe the doctor, Ken the lawyer, and you're Muhammad who works at the bodega, right? Or Muhammad the doctor, right? And you're all there. How did all these people who have no prior contacts with the criminal justice system all get assaults on officers? And they punch cops, right? Why did this happen? This happened because when they were out there singing and cheering, right, around 1:30, 1:45, the Capitol Police and the Metropolitan Police Department decided to rain down all types of crowd control munitions on these people. So you're sitting there singing How Great Thou Art, and one guy's singing there, and boom, a rubber bullet goes through his cheek out here, right? I got another guy who I'm suing him for $5 million. They just decided to shoot him at point blank range with a weapon, with a crowd control device that you're supposed to shoot from yards away, and skip hop it. It fractured his femur, right? Ashley Babbitt was murdered. Roseanne Boylan died. Kevin Greason died. Benjamin Phillips died. A lot of people were dying. And when good men see women, the elderly, the infirmed, and innocent people getting attacked by the police, they go, yo, officer, chill the fuck out.
Right.
They do it again. Yo, officer, chill the fuck out. Boom, boom, boom. Yo, officer, bang.
Yeah.
Right? So normally, you're on the hook for an assault on an officer, right? Mm-hmm. But they say, okay, you went there, and then they look at your text messages. We're going to go there, and we're going to have a war, right? Extra 5 points. We're going to go there, and we're going to do this. Most of these people wanted to go fight against FIFA. Yeah. And they jack up the charges, they run up the scoreboard, and they threaten you. I've had guys facing 100 years in jail for a punch a cop in the face.
So to take a step back, because you're explaining, there's a system within the federal government that the points are for your sentence or the points are for your charge?
Yeah, it runs on an X and Y axis, right? So you get certain, if you have no criminal history, you have a criminal history score of 0 or 1, right? And if, depending on the seriousness of your charge, it'll put you out in that bracket. The reason why they use the 15-12 charge is because it gives you 20 years mandatory. It bumps you all the way out to 14 points from the jump street, right? So normally on assault on a cop, you'd be 5, 6, 8 points. You're at 15 points, you're already at 1.5 years in jail to 3 years, right? And it goes up from there. So if you punch somebody, not only do you get the assault charge, you obstructed the proceeding because if you punched the cop 3 blocks from the Capitol, what your intent was to do was to make sure they didn't certify the election. It was all bullshit. They charge with other charges. There's a charge called civil disorder, right? It's 213 charge, 231 charge. And it says that the way it works is if you impeded an officer during what's called a civil disorder, then you could be on the hook for 5 years, right? So, we had to argue and say this is overbroad, it's overly general. If a guy pushes a cop at a gas station 10 blocks from the Capitol, but he intended on going to the Capitol, or maybe he was headed back, he said the Capitol's too much, but he sent text messages to his friends in November saying we're going to go there and tear shit up, they put him on the hook for civil disorder. So if you were there, they come up with creative ways to shape and smooth the statute to get you. Because the process is the punishment. They know that they're going to send you to this jail. We call it the DC Gulag. And you're going to sit there and you're going to rot. And most people don't want to go. So they try to work it out.
So basically, like, let's say, for example, you don't engage in any property damage. They're given entry to Capitol, whether to force or not. But, like, eventually they stop impeding the entry, right? If I'm there at this event, I don't physically engage with anyone. I walk into the building, I walk around, and I walk out without getting into a fist fight or anything. That's still going to turn into something that may or may not give me 5 or 20 years.
I got 2 clients right now, Shondell and Donald Chilcote. And they walked in, they were waved in. They, hey, how you doing? Officers were taking selfies. They walked into the Senate chamber and they left, right? They're facing like 30 years a pop.
So explain that, because that doesn't make no sense.
1512 charges just got overturned today, 20 years minimum, right? And then they have forcible entry into the Capitol. It's an illegal entry into the Capitol. It's got a certain amount of years. Then you're in a civil disorder. Then they charge you with conspiracy. And they stack all this shit up. And it becomes very ugly very quick. And then if you sent text messages, or if you said something like, think you're at a feminist protest and somebody's like, fuck the patriarchy. And then like a father walks by and somebody punches him in the face, right? Like that could happen. It's foreseeable. Somebody says, oh, I'm pro-life, you shouldn't kill babies. And they go, fuck the patriarchy and hit you, right? That's normal shit that you could jump off at the front lines of a protest. Right. But on January 6th, if you like, fuck Joe Biden, the election was stolen, and you push in the door, they want 10 years for that. They want 10 years for that because they're saying that you participated in a conspiracy to overturn the election. It's an attack on democracy. Right?
Because of where it happened.
Because of where it happened.
Because it was in a government building.
And it's ridiculous, man. Those people went down there with the hopes of having their voices heard. So maybe their congressman or congresswoman would say, hey, I'm not going to certify. But after the violence happened, everybody certified the election. So they all lost and Trump lost. So, somebody kind of wanted this to happen. And there are 2 entrapment theories. There's old school entrapment and there's entrapment by estoppel. Old school entrapment is, hey, you want to buy like a nickel bag? I sell it to you. Hey, I'm a cop. I arrest you. You can't do that, right? Entrapment by estoppel is when you make a reasonable reliance on a representation by the government that something that you're doing is okay. So when when Trump gave a speech at the Ellipse, the Capitol is about 1.5 miles away, right? On Constitution in Pennsylvania, they had parade routes like it was the Yankee parade or the Giants parade. No cars in the street. The idea, the inference was everybody was allowed to walk down. So everybody walked down to the Capitol. And once they were down there, some people were let in and other people got nuked by the cops. You got to ask yourself, if it wasn't permissible, why did they allow them to go there? Right. Why did they allow these crowds to amass there to make something happen? Conflict was foreseeable and all these people got jammed up for it. And it's wrong.
And then also, like, allegedly, I feel like because you hear it during the Black Lives Matter protests, but all these other there are like possibly government people in the crowd and being like, yo, we should throw a rock.
Instigators.
Agent provocateur.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, they would definitely.
Because you saw during the Black Lives Matter protests, there were pallets of bricks out on the street where there was no construction going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if anybody forgot about that. And then when you talk to the gangsters, to the Bloods of the Crips in the 80s, they would talk about when there was the riots going on, there were crates of guns sitting in the back alleys of their neighborhoods. So it's like, really? It's
the Coin Intel program was designed by J. Edgar Hoover to infiltrate the Black Panthers and the KKK, right? And they just flagrantly violated these people's rights. They infiltrated the protest movements. or the anti-government movements, whatever they are, and then they got these guys to stir shit up so all the Black Panthers would go to jail. Right? It was total entrapment.
And they had one of those plastic masks on or whatever it was. They went in there. It was like, yo, we should do this. Blah, 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 blah. And then they disappear in the crowd, and then they stir the people up.
And you know where I learned about this shit from? The ACLU, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch. I cited all their articles. I really put together beautiful motions in all these cases to argue this stuff in front of these judges. I asked for their help, and they all flat left me. They were like, "Nah, we're not fucking with you."
Really, ACLU?
Not one.
Some crazy motherfuckers.
Nothing, bro.
Really, the ACLU?
Nothing. None of those organizations helped. Very sad.
That is sad. That's sad.
Very
I
sad.
forgot who they represented, but it was like. My memory's shit, but like they represented someone, and it was like
they gotta be.
It was like Nazis. They represented like American Nazis once, and it was like First Amendment free speech, and it was like, damn, that's crazy.
If you help these people and they get out, Trump gets off the hook for January 6th, and he arguably
and that's the line that they don't want to cross,
which is crazy because it's all politically motivated. It's insane.
And you're using the lives of the everyday person to do whatever the hell you want politically.
It's crazy. It's insane.
So you said a lot of these guys, which I understand, wasn't about taking a plea because they felt like they were done wrong. But you also said there's been no acquittals. So how bad has been the consequences of going to trial in some of these cases?
Oh, the trial penalty has been harsh. I mean, you have people that didn't go to the Capitol got 22 years for conspiring. Enrique Tarrio got 22 years. Right?
Years,
the leader of the Proud Boys, a white nationalist organization. Dude's a black Cuban. Come on, you fucking kidding me?
He got 22 years.
22 years, bro. He wasn't even there.
And what was explain? What was like? How did they justify that? How did they legally like?
You were some ringleader behind the scenes moving people. He wasn't, man. The Proud Boys were like a drinking organization that formed together for nationalist reasons because they think America is the greatest fucking thing in the world, and they were like, fuck it, if you're Antifa, we're gonna go out and fight you because you're out there fighting and we're gonna fight. We all want to get drunk and fight. Fuck it. That's what it was about with them, right? And they turned them into like Al Qaeda.
They should have gotten into soccer. That sounds like a
soccer. They're Manchester United.
Yeah, they're hooligans. They're like West Ham hooligans. Yeah. That's all it was, and it's insane. But lots of people. I had a guy today. I'm telling him like, you should probably take a plea. He's like, they're making me stipulate the 14 pages of shit I didn't do. I know that this is not the right thing to do, but I just can't do it. So I'm going to raise the money to go to trial because I know that you're going to fight for me, and whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I can't put my head down on my pillow at night telling these people I did something that I didn't do, and I'm just like, bro, you're gonna. So
it's a long ride,
right?
For a clear conscience.
It is. To answer your question, I have been successful in getting in front of judges and really humanizing my clients and saying, look, what you can do is you can ask for something that's called a downward variance, and you can ask for the judges to depart from the guidelines for very specific reasons. And I've been successful in some cases to get the judges to go below the guidelines. Government's asking for 41 months of jail in one case, right? My Adam Jackson's case I had a few months ago. Judge gave him probation, 36 months. That's a huge win, right? So sometimes we'll take it on the chin, we'll do what we got to do, and then we'll get into sentencing, and that's really where I can work my magic. Because a lot of the judges at this point, all the real like bad guys, the violent guys have already been prosecuted. They've had enough. They wanted 41 months because my guy he threw a rubber cone, but he's on video, he drinks, right? And he's not a drinker, but because he's sober, he drank. He's like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. He's got a Trump cape on like Superman, like Captain fucking America. He turns his head backwards, takes a swig of booze. Somebody gives him a riot shield. He picks up a rubber cone, throws it at the cops, and then he charges the goal line, tries to cross the goal line. There's an army of like 6'9", just jack cops sitting there. They stop him at the goal line. He doesn't make it into it. He falls down. He's got a cut on his head. He gets up. He walks home. They were saying that was assault with a deadly weapon on an officer. They wanted 20 years. They wanted 20 years. They got him 36 months of probation, right? But I had to argue that at sentencing. At least I was able to get that judge to be like, hey, I'm not going to do this. Like, you shouldn't have did what you did, but I'm not going to bang you in the head and ruin your life.
Right.
For this.
After trial or after plea?
This was after a plea in this case, right? Generally, it's better when you take a plea if we're going to go for the sentencing angle. Or you can kind of go to trial Some people do stipulated bench trials. It was just like you stipulate to the facts, say, yeah, I did it, and you preserve your right to appeal. Or you can go into trial and like lay down on the misdemeanors. Like, yeah, I did this, I did that, I did this, but I didn't do that, and I didn't do that. So I'm basically building credibility with the judge. I'm conceding all the shit that's on camera. But in terms of an attack on democracy, assault with a deadly weapon, or me trying to disrupt the election, nah. The cop did a stupid thing, I punched him in the face. I'm willing to be accountable for that. Give me 2 years, right? Don't give me 20.
So this kind of like lawful concept that they're obstructing this grand thing. Every single time they go to trial, they're getting banged on what just got overturned.
Yeah. 17 judges in the DC District Court. I think there's 18 judges. All but one of them said, oh yeah, this charge. We were all like, this charge is no good. What you're doing is wrong. They all went along with it. One judge, Judge Nichols, stood up, and that's the case that went to the Supreme Court, and it just got overturned today because that one judge had the stones to say, I'm not doing this shit.
So it got sent up by the prosecutor.
No, it was appealed
By the prosecutor.
It was appealed by the prosecutor.
Oh, wow.
And then appealed again. Yeah. No, it was appealed by the prosecutor. We lost at the DC circuit is corrupt. We lost at the circuit, and then we reappealed. Fisher reappealed to get to the Supreme Court, and he was the petitioner at the Supreme Court, and he won today.
Wow, that's crazy. So So I feel like now we've reached the end. How has that affected the majority of your cases, and what other decisions you see coming down the pipeline?
Well, we're going to find out, right? It just happened. So if I have a guy, Richard Barnett, who's in 1512, was the most serious of his charges. I'm not his attorney anymore because he's on his own now, but he should file for an appeal his sentence, and he's probably going to get let out, right? Because that was the heaviest charge. So if you're in there, and if you've been locked up, you can, and this is the charge that's giving you the most time, all these people should be released. They're probably just going to start releasing people en masse. The Department of Justice has doubled down and saying that, if you appeal these cases, we're going to supersede, we're going to do this. If it gets remanded, we're going to jam your life out with worse charges. Like, it's crazy.
And they could do that?
Yeah, man.
It seems like they could do anything.
What they're getting
they can do anything they fucking want.
It's murder.
They can do whatever they want.
It's
this
murder.
whole episode has been talking about how they just do whatever the fuck they want.
But it puts a monkey wrench. It really blows apart their narrative that this charge and everything that they've been doing has been by the book. The Supreme Court shot them down today. The election's coming. Things are changing. Not good for them. And at some point, Joe Biden shouldn't be on TV being like, MAGA Republicans are the worst thing in the fucking world, and the whole world's going to be on fire because 3 white guys in Georgia don't like me. Hey, come on, give me a break. Like, nobody, do you like going to the store and paying $17 for milk and eggs? I don't, right? Those are the real problems. And I think he loses credibility. The Department of Justice has lost a lot of credibility. They're losing a lot of people. And, we're going to see what happens. What I do know, because I've had personal conversations with him and everybody in his inner circle on multiple occasions down at Mar-a-Lago, is that if Trump gets in, he's going to pardon everybody. Right? He's going to pardon everybody. He's going to be like, you're all fucking out. And look, I mean, if he'll do it for Kodak Black and Lil Wayne, he's going to do it for these people too.
Thanks.
So,
Yeah, well, at least they got a reason to vote.
As long as they're not a felon, right? Oh, now you can vote if you're a felon now, right? I don't know.
it depends on your state, I think.
Right,
I don't know.
Depends on your state.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
How's that work though? Because if my state lets a felon work, but I got a felony in Texas, does that mean I gain my rights if I just leave Texas?
maybe. It's crazy. Maybe it works like abortion right now, or whatever,
Yeah, state by state, I guess.
Yeah, it's a crazy situation, but fortuitously, the founding fathers, in their wisdom, did not build in a prohibition like if you get convicted of a felony that you can't be a president. That's good for me because I'm a Trump guy, right? But they also knew that hey, if you get wrong people in power, they can go after your political opponents and try to disqualify you for this shit. We just came from England with this guy over there, George, doing all this shit to us. We're going to make sure it doesn't happen. Right. So we're seeing some of their, they weren't perfect, but we're seeing some of their wisdom play out in like the system of checks and balances. the Supreme Court slapping down the executive today, and you know, a guy who could be a felon. Look, Trump could become president while he's doing a bid, like Mandela.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're talking about right now. It's a weird situation.
Which I don't think they want, because if he actually gets into a cell, I feel like he's gonna blow up even more. You look at what happened.
It's gonna be like a great rap album.
You look at what happened, like when they hit him with the felonies. All of a sudden, everybody was like, "Oh, I know how that is." Nah, send him mad bread, and he raised like $200 million.
I'm funny. I remember, like, I felt like the media. I feel like the media doing this to my man RFK, because I like RFK. Was like silence murders more than anything else. Yeah. And I remember before they charged Trump, I was like, you motherfuckers are kind of winning on the silent game. Yeah, don't mention him. He barely gets news. You're kind of winning. Right. Like I feel like he's kind of fell out the zeitgeist a little bit. And they started dropping him with the charge, and y'all niggas put a battery in his back. Like, it's like, I'm like, it's like, I don't know why y'all did this. Like, that's how y'all, like, hey, I'm not a Trump guy, but I would say, right, if you analyze the 2016 election, he got billions of dollars of airtime because he was such a controversial person. Yeah. They loved talking about him. Right. And what they realized, they didn't realize the number one thing in publicity, fucking good, what is it?
No, all press is good press.
Yeah, all press is good press.
No press is good press. It's bad press.
Right.
Exactly. So it's like, you giving this guy $2 billion.
For free.
$2 billion for fucking, he's an asshole.
Right.
It's like, well, at least I know who he is.
Right,
like,
right.
I think that's what one is. Like, I think it's the same thing that's happening now. It's like, y'all could have just gave him the silent treatment. That would probably worked compared to making him a martyr to 50% of the population easily, and just making him someone that's being constantly, like, the name is all day. You're fucking hearing him all day. And then you're having guys like my man Joseph, who's making relative arguments that, you know, some of these people are being overcharged at minimum.
Yeah.
It's not a good look for my man, my Democrats. I'm a Democrat. RFK this year, but he should have been the nominee. I think he would have smoked our Joe Biden in the primary.
But they're doing to him what they did to Bernie. Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the thing is,
fucked up.
But the thing is I feel like he's doing what Bernie didn't have the gall to do. You know.
Either way, the rank and file Democratic machine is not going to give him the time of day because he's not one of them.
Right.
He's a Kennedy. Because president, they're going to smoke him.
Yeah. Because the first thing he's going to do is unlock the files and be like, everybody's finding out.
Facts.
They don't want that. They don't want that.
Facts.
He's gonna destroy the CIA. The CIA, what?
Yeah.
The deadliest gang in the world, man.
Yeah. Well, at least for Bernie, it was like a little bit more.
He was a cute little old
guy. It was more like gracefully done.
Yeah.
What they did to RFK was just like, come on, man. Don't just throw bananas all over the place. Not a Republic. I'm just saying, like you freaking me out. This shit is scary. Yeah. But all right, man. Well, that was a fucking great episode. I guess tell the audience what else are you doing? I know January 6th is not everything you're doing.
No, it's not everything. Andrew and Tristan Tate's case is real interesting. They were falsely accused by a woman from Florida who Tristan met in Florida of human trafficking. The UK has spent over $2 billion in an effort to cancel them, right? So they were able to get them on these false charges in Romania. Romanian justice system is very different. There's no trial by jury. You can be held for months and months and months before you even see the indictment. So the Romanian prosecutor over there, corrupt, did not want to let the facts of the case out because, again, the facts of the case were exculpatory. So we obtained the discovery, and we were suing her for defamation in Florida because not only is she from Florida and some of the material facts happened in Florida, she directed many of her statements from Romania back into Florida to get the people in Florida to call the U.S. Embassy to have his house swatted and have him locked up. So we filed a very good $5 million defamation lawsuit in Florida. We blew apart the Romanian case. Not only are they out, they're off a house arrest, they're chilling, they're all over Romania right now. Soon they'll be able to leave the country again. Once that case is disposed of in Romania, we're going to finish the defamation case, which is, we just survived the motions to dismiss in that case, so we're moving into discovery. And in that case, you have this woman who has just this storied history of going after rich guys and just ruining them when she doesn't get her way. One guy killed himself. Another guy went to jail. I have her on text messages saying that she's going in to lie to the prosecutor to keep it in jail. And while she's crossing the metal detector, she's like, will my butt plug go off? I'm getting off on this. She's nuts, right? Like, so, yeah, yo, dead ass. I put that shit in court papers, bro. Judge is like, in my, what? Yeah.
I live in a different world.
Yeah, yo, it's just crazy. So not only that, when I put the word out, yo, if this woman hurts you, come to me. A lot of guys came to me and gave me evidence. Like, she's got a trail of victims going back years. Wow. I baked all that shit into my complaint. I was like, look at this woman. She's a fucking monster. And like Andrew and Tristan are her biggest targets to date. This is a takedown operation in conjunction with the effort to cancel them because they're being funded by dark money through an NGO to be able to defend this case. But we're ruining their life in court. We got a good judge in Florida. They wanted the case to be in federal court. We won our remand motion, got it sent back down to the Florida State Court in Palm Beach, where the law is more favorable to us. We're going to have a good outcome in that situation, and and we're looking forward. And in terms of representing two guys who are great, I mean, these guys are they're fucking awesome. I was at their crib in Romania with Tucker Carlson. We were just like hanging out in the backyard, smoking cigars, and I'm just looking around like, yo, is this my life? Like, this is crazy. That was my birthday last year. Yeah, so. It's just wild, man, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunity, man, and grateful that you guys are here. And we can, we have very different religious and political views, obviously, but we're able to have a conversation and not want to put the other person in jail. That's all what I'm asking for.
Right, yeah.
Don't lock me up. I see the world differently.
Right.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, man. I remember when January 6th was just happening, I was like, I'm not saying what you did was tasteful, but it sounds like you're a little aggressive.
Yeah.
Because I don't imagine they all were planning what you're saying they're planning. Because if they were, there would have been people in zip ties. It would have been fucking murder all over the place if what they were doing was because you can't half-step a fucking government takeover. Right. You're doing it or you're not.
Right. All or nothing endeavor.
Right.
I would imagine.
And the way that they watching the internet now, it's just like there's no way that you can conversate with each other and it not get nobody knows what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So.
Wow. Yeah. AI's coming. On that note,
that's
Joseph,
another episode.
Thank you for coming.
Yes,
it was a great episode.
So much,
thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Eugene.
Yep. Thank you.
Good to see
you.
you again, man.
I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, like, comment, share, subscribe, and check out the merch shop. We need the money. We're now an MPO. We're hoping to get our nonprofit status very soon. So help a motherfucker out. Right. You want more conversations like this? Help us out.
Tony should swag. Cop a shirt.
Cop a shirt. Thank you.
Oh, you have any?
I am McBride Law NYC across all social media platforms. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, IG, True Social, and everywhere else. Find me there. Hit me up. Follow me. Send me a DM. Tell me that you follow me as a result of me being on the show, and I'll be sure to follow you back.
Nice. Yeah, that's good social media growth.
Yes, sir.
This one was so hot we left it out.
All
right. I didn't know none of these laws. All right, man. We out of here.
That's it, right.
Should've seen it coming like a prophecy. Cause the work got us moving with velocity. We beastin' now, it's some monstrosity. We the plug to the source, unshockingly. Wow, what's he really gonna do now? Jolts in your system better stay on the ground. Volts in the circus as I spark to the sound. The energy that entered me are jewels in my crown. Wow, that's how it's always gonna be. You'll never really get it like NRG. Could do without the static and the flattery. Chill for I catch a charge like battery.
No style, what? Turn your energy up. No work, what? Turn your energy up. Too wild, turn your energy up. Turn your energy up. Turn your energy up. No style, what? Turn your energy up. No work, what? Turn your energy up. Too wild, turn your energy up.
energy up.
Turn your energy up. Energy up. No style. Turn your energy up. No work. Turn your energy up. Too wild. Turn your energy up. Turn your energy up. Turn your energy up. No style. Turn your energy up. No work. Turn your energy up. Too wild. Turn your energy up. Turn your energy up. Turn your energy up. No weakness, just energy. Just energy. Just energy. No weakness, just energy. Energy. Just energy. No weakness, just energy. Just energy. Just energy. No weakness, just energy. Energy. Just energy. No weakness, just energy. Just energy. Just energy. No weakness, just energy. Energy. Just energy.